C-Suite. I'm Danielle Jaworski. In this segment, we're going to be talking with Kareen Aristide, really about the power of authentic living, which is doing what you love and loving what you do. At the same time, not losing yourself or your family in what you're doing. So welcome, Kareen, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Danielle. This is great.
This is going to be a fun conversation because really this idea or the concept of doing what you love and loving what you do, sometimes it seems like a dream and it's not quite possible, but you work with business owners to actually achieve this.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I love the most is to put the person in front of what's a reality that they can expect once they decide to choose themselves. And once you make that decision, everything falls into place. So it just starts with the belief that it's possible.
I love this idea about the power of authenticity. We've talked about authenticity quite a few times here on the show. And really, for you, what is that like authenticity and what does the power of authenticity mean to you?
Yeah, so one thing that I find difficult is that when we grow up, we come in the world and we don't choose our family, right? So we are born in an environment that typically dictates a little bit our course of action. So, and our parents do the best they can, but sometimes what happens is that there's a transfer that happens, which I call um, I could call it more like plagiarism that could happen, where we model a life that may not necessarily be our choice or what we would do if we really got to know who we are and what we are meant to be in the world. And so it's a journey to really have these realization and these little check-ins, I would say, to make sure that we're not plagiarizing, we're not, living the dream of someone else or what society is saying is possible, but we're really coming from a place of, that's why I think authenticity starts with that, is knowing who you are and where you're supposed to be a powerful influence in the world. Takes time, but it's possible.
I like how you said it. It's a journey and it takes time because understanding who you are and that authentic person, it's not an overnight process. It
No.
takes time. And so, how do you help women to really start to explore kind of who they are and who that authentic self is?
So the first thing we start with is knowing your vision. So when I talk about vision, I start with internal environments, understanding what it is that you're all about. And then you can focus on exteriorizing that vision so that your environment can take it in. And that also comes with exploring your passion or solidifying your passions, because there's so many things that we can be passionate about. We are passionate beings. And so it's important that our vision really follows through what our passion is so we can come out as the passionate being that we are. And then taking action, making sure that whatever is our vision and whatever our passion is, that our actions are actually congruent to that. So it's not just about doing just to do, but being before doing is what makes sure, what will ensure that you're actually living the life that you love.
Like what you just said, the whole being before doing, that in
Yes.
itself sounds so powerful and almost very rooting and grounding at the same time.
Absolutely. And many times we don't realize how powerful that realization can be because we're so busy doing. That's how society is structured. So do. When we meet somebody, what's the first thing we ask? What do you do? So it as if that defines who somebody is. No, what are you passionate about? Is a much better question to get to know somebody.
I like that. So from a networking perspective, just to say, what do you do? What are you passionate about? I'm going to use that one.
Yes, let's spread it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
shifts conversations. So
Yeah.
and again, allows you to be in this place of almost curiosity then when you're meeting people, which is a very authentic place to be as well.
That's it, absolutely. And just the light that, people's eyes just light up when they start talking about what they love and what they're passionate about. And, you know, like that's the tragedy. I find that, we're in a job or we're doing something 9 to 5, or even if we're a business owner, we're doing this thing that we're doing. But if we're not passionate about it, then it sucks the life out of us. So it really impacts our mental health as well.
And so, from a mental health perspective as well, a lot of the work that you do around helping women is to really identify. So, doing what you love, loving what you do, but then at the same time, making sure it doesn't take over your life and you don't lose
Absolutely.
who you are and your family in that process. So, can you share a little bit more about how you help women to not lose like that piece of themselves?
So the first thing is really to look at how they manage their time. Where is their time going? And is it conducive to their best self? And sometimes what happens, especially with women, we take so many roles, we take on so many hats, and we think we're doing people a favor, but really we're disserving people when we're doing everything and not allowing people to take their place and really flourish in our environment. So it takes a village, to grow a beautiful community so everybody can contribute. So when we take too much place, that's when it impacts not only us but also the people around us. So
It sounds like you're also enforcing the need for boundaries in our life and what we do.
absolutely.
So,
Totally.
so how do you create boundaries around something like when you're passionate about what you do and you've got that passion, you've got these goals, you want to work towards it? How do you create boundaries around something that you're so passionate about?
Well, I think self-care, is the first thing that you need to implement in your the way that you basically manage your time, because your time is your life, right? So who you are is how you do, is what you do with who you are. So making sure that you have time for yourself, regular check-ins, very, very important. Making sure you're eating, you're sleeping, you're doing, whatever it takes for you to be that passionate self, because self-preservation begins with that, making sure that you're not forgetting yourself just because you're doing all these things that you love, right? So, and that's even more important when you're doing something because you need to do it, for example, just to pay the bills, or because you have a responsibility that you don't necessarily enjoy doing, because that happens too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kareen, for sharing all of these insights on really how to live this authentic, like really embrace the power of living authentically and doing what you love and loving what you do. So thank you for being here on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. You're wonderful. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. And to our viewers, you are wonderful as well. And thank you for choosing to spend time with us. We will see you on another episode of The C-Suite.